For generations, the image of the attack helicopter has been synonymous with overwhelming aerial firepower and relentless ground support. But before the Apache, the Super Cobra, or any modern rotorcraft dominated the skies, there was a machine that pioneered the concept of the gunship, a lean, mean, fighting machine that redefined aerial warfare forever. This is the story of the Bell AH-1 Cobra, an aircraft so revolutionary it not only changed the course of the Vietnam War but laid the foundational blueprint for every dedicated attack helicopter that followed. Imagine being on the ground, pinned down by hostile fire, the air thick with smoke and the sound of distant machine guns. Hope is a scarce commodity. Then, piercing the cacophony, comes a distinct, rotor-whipping sound, rapidly growing louder. You look up, and there it is, a sleek, narrow silhouette, flying low and fast, bristling with rockets and guns. That sight, the arrival of the Cobra, was the most beautiful, terrifying, and decisive moment in countless battles. It was the cavalry of the new age, a high-speed, heavily armed shield and sword for ground troops. The Cobra wasn't just built, it was forged in the fiery crucible of necessity, proving that the helicopter, once a mere utility and transport vehicle, could be transformed into a deadly, specialized predator. If you want to understand how modern air-to-ground combat evolved, you have to start here, with the king of the air, the original gunship, the AH-1 Cobra. The genesis of the AH-1 Cobra is a fascinating tale of wartime urgency and brilliant engineering. The Vietnam War presented the United States Army with an unprecedented challenge. While the UH-1 Huey helicopter was the workhorse of the conflict, performing everything from troop transport to medical evacuation, its effectiveness as a gunship was limited. Armed Hueys, or hogs and frogs, were essentially modified transports, often carrying weapons mounted outside the cabin. They were wide, slow, and suffered heavy casualties when flying into heavily defended zones. The pilots and strategists realized they needed something purpose-built for the attack role, an aircraft that could fly fast, absorb damage, and deliver focused, massive firepower. Bell Helicopter, leveraging its experience with the UH-1, proposed a radical solution. Instead of modifying an existing airframe, they developed a completely new concept, the slim body or tandem cockpit design. This was the key innovation. By placing the pilot behind and slightly above the gunner, they could create an extremely narrow fuselage. This reduced the helicopter's frontal cross-section, making it a much smaller and harder target to hit from the ground. Furthermore, this configuration improved visibility for both crew members, with the gunner seated in the front, directly responsible for aiming and firing the nose-mounted turret. The design was a marvel of efficiency. It retained the reliable engine, transmission, and rotor system of the proven UH-1 Huey, which significantly sped up its development and eased maintenance and logistics in the field. This smart integration meant that the AH-1 was not just a new helicopter, it was an evolutionary step built upon a reliable platform. The prototype, designated the Model 209, first flew in July 1965, and its performance was so impressive that the U.S. Army quickly greenlit its production. By 1967, the AH-1G Huey Cobra was entering service in Vietnam, and the impact was immediate and profound. The AH-1G quickly became an indispensable asset. It flew as an escort gunship, protecting the vulnerable, slow-moving troop transports, the slicks, and medical evacuation helicopters, the dust-offs. But its primary and most famous role was that of fireteam leader or direct ground support. When ground troops called for help, it was the Cobra that roared in, often flying low, aggressively maneuvering to suppress enemy positions. The helicopter's signature armament initially included a chin-mounted M28 turret, capable of housing a variety of weapons, most commonly a pair of miniguns or a combination of a minigun and a 40mm grenade launcher. Later versions also incorporated the M35 20mm cannon subsystem, providing a massive increase in kinetic energy. The power of the Cobra lay not just in its guns but in its versatility. Mounted on short, stubby wings, called stub wings, the helicopter could carry a fearsome array of external ordnance, most notably 70mm 2.75-inch folding fin aerial rockets FARS. A single Cobra could unleash dozens of these rockets in a single pass, turning fortified enemy positions into rubble. This ability to deliver concentrated, high-volume fire in a matter of seconds made the Cobra the definitive close air support platform of the war. Its speed and agility were also crucial. While enemy fire was intense, the Cobra's narrow profile and the skill of its pilots allowed it to survive engagements where larger, less agile aircraft would have been shot down. The pilots who flew the Cobra became known for their bravery and aggression. Flying an attack helicopter in a close-quarters combat environment is an intensely challenging and dangerous task. They flew at treetop level, sometimes lower, constantly dodging small arms fire and rocket-propelled grenades. These aviators developed new tactics, often referred to as attack helicopter maneuvers, to maximize the Cobra's combat effectiveness while minimizing their exposure to ground fire. They perfected the art of the pop-up attack, briefly elevating the aircraft to fire its rockets before quickly dropping back into cover, and the diving gun run, where accuracy was paramount. The legacy of the AH-1 is defined by its continuous evolution. The AH-1G was just the beginning. As the conflict in Vietnam wound down, the Cobra found new life and greater lethality in the hands of the United States Marine Corps, who recognized its unparalleled value in amphibious operations and shipborne environments. The Marines version, the twin-engine AH-1J Cobra, and subsequent models like the AH-1T improved C Cobra, the AH-1 Super Cobra, and the modern AH-1Z Viper, took the original concept and multiplied its performance exponentially. The shift to a twin-engine design, a key feature of the Marine Corps versions, provided increased power, greater payload capacity, and, critically, enhanced survivability over water or hostile territory. If one engine failed, the helicopter could still fly home on the other. This family of Marine Cobras also saw the integration of increasingly sophisticated weaponry and avionics. They were equipped to fire the fearsome TOW anti-tank missile, later the Hellfire missile, transforming the Cobra from a purely anti-personnel/anti-fortification aircraft into a potent tank killer. The AH-1 Cobra airframe, remarkably, has seen service in nearly every major conflict involving the U.S. and its allies since 1967. From the sands of the Middle East to the jungles of Southeast Asia, the Cobra has been a constant presence, adapting to new threats and incorporating cutting-edge technology. The AH-1 Super Cobra, for instance, was a mainstay during the Gulf War, proving its worth in night operations using advanced targeting systems. The latest iteration, the AH-1Z Viper, is a state-of-the-art attack platform, sharing a high degree of commonality with the UH-1Y Venom utility helicopter, an ingenious design choice that simplifies logistics and maintenance, a direct callback to the original AH-1's dependence on the Huey's components. The Cobra's influence extends far beyond its direct service history. It was the original narrow-body gunship, and its tandem cockpit concept became the global standard for dedicated attack helicopters. The Soviet Mi-24 Hind, while larger and capable of carrying troops, adopted many of the core lessons learned from the Cobra's success. The iconic Boeing AH-64 Apache, the world's most recognizable attack helicopter, is the spiritual and technical successor to the Cobra, incorporating the same fundamental design philosophies: extreme narrowness, powerful armament, and a crew dedicated solely to attack. In essence, every gunship flying today has a piece of the Cobra in its DNA. Furthermore, the Cobra served with distinction in the armed forces of numerous nations, including Israel, Turkey, Pakistan, and Japan. Each nation modified and utilized the Cobra to fit its unique operational requirements, a testament to the fundamental soundness and adaptability of Bell's original design. Its combat record is unparalleled, having accounted for countless successful missions and a vast number of enemy engagements. The simple fact that a helicopter conceptualized and designed in the mid-1960s is still being flown in its most advanced form today, the AH-1Z, nearly 60 years later, speaks volumes about the genius of its initial engineering and its timeless combat effectiveness. It's a true classic, an aircraft that bridged the gap between the helicopter's utility phase and its specialized combat role. The Cobra is more than just a collection of metal, wires, and engines. It is a symbol of air superiority and a tribute to the pilots who pushed its limits. When you see a Cobra, you are looking at a living piece of military history, a machine that defined a generation of warfare. It is the original air predator, the helicopter that changed the rules of engagement and established the doctrine of what an attack helicopter should be. Its legacy is etched into the very sky it dominated for half a century. From the humid jungles of Vietnam to the arid deserts of the Middle East, the Cobra's roar has been the sound of imminent relief for the troops on the ground and the sound of doom for the enemy. The story of the Cobra, a machine built in haste but designed with genius, continues to inspire aviators and engineers. It is a powerful reminder that sometimes, the most effective tool is the one that is purpose-built, streamlined, and absolutely dedicated to the mission. The AH-1 Cobra, the legendary gunship that started it all. If you found this deep dive into the legendary AH-1 Cobra fascinating, imagine the stories the other aircraft in our Airborne Atlas series hold. Don't miss out on another incredible journey through aviation history. Hit that like button to show your support, subscribe to Airborne Atlas for more in-depth military aviation content, And ring the notification bell so you are the first to know when we publish our next video on the most iconic aircraft ever built. And tell us in the comments below, what is your favorite attack helicopter of all time, and why? Let's get the conversation started.